and then he got murdered.
What country was this?
Listen, I think he would go to Nepal for his herbs, and then he converted to Buddhism, moved over, and then got murdered. Like, it's just super weird. But either way, his medications were magic, basically. So, hello, I am Joshua Roiland, a strength and conditioning specialist and owner of Sweatshirt Fitness. Our guest today is Jeffrey Lee, a recent acupuncture graduate. We'll be discussing your journey into the wellness field, your educational experience, and your recommendations for everyone, including young athletes, weekend warriors, and the general population in relation to their health. How are you doing today, Jeffrey?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for having me, Josh. It's a pleasure and honor to be here.
Awesome. We met in jiu-jitsu. Let's first go into there. How did you get into jiu-jitsu? What made you see it? Was it MMA or?
So a little background was when I was 10, I was bullied quite a lot to the point where I was suicidal. The one thing I thought was, okay, what can I do to better my situation? I know that my parents are not going to be able to help me. The teachers, they do what they can, but they really can't do much. So I have to fight back. What can I do to learn? So that's when I wanted to start martial arts. And I did, so from there, I started wushu for about 5 years, got good flexibility, movement, all that. Did Wing Chun for about 2 summers. And then I'll never forget this. It was when I was in college and I had like a little sparring session with my friend's boyfriend that I got tapped out by an arm triangle from standing and a standing guillotine 3 times. And that I thought, okay, I need to learn how to do this in case I ever get caught in these situations. And so I started to research a little bit during my last year of college. I saw that Sarah had opened up like right in Huntington, which I live very close to. And from there, I just came in my first day and I thought, you know what? I know I'm here to learn. I'm going to stick with it. I don't care like if I get injured. I don't care about like if the people are, jerks here. I'm here to learn. I'm here to get this done.
So my experience with martial arts was from very early on. It was more my parents doing the self-control, responsibility, teaching kind of experience. So it was Kempo, 2nd grade, worked my way through wrestling, middle school, high school. I can say I never really had the experience of being bullied, so I'm sorry that was something you dealt with. It is a confidence builder in everybody from someone like me who I would say I went through fairly easy childhood, friends, and then moved my way over into college and adulthood. I did gain a lot of confidence through martial arts.
Actually, I kind of want to touch on the confidence thing. It was, I don't think I've ever had more confidence than until I actually have like a bit of experience with jiu-jitsu. Like I can fully say like, okay, now if someone were to ever threaten me, I can confidently defend myself. And this actually did happen when I was at a bar. This guy thought that I was hitting on his girlfriend and he was posturing a lot. And I thought, this guy is trying, but he's not too big of a threat. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this go. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my career, not worth anything. So it is what it is.
The biggest thing that people don't realize about people who know what they're doing, and again, jiu-jitsu is more for the people who are, I'd say, relaxed more. You get other people with egos in certain other martial arts.
Yes.
So a wrestler might be a little bit more high intensity. They're usually pretty relaxed. You get a boxer, some of them might be more likely to fight. But in general, people who are at the higher levels of all martial arts typically tend to be the people who are most secure in themselves and least likely to need to posture.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that.
It's the people who are insecure, the people who maybe weightlift or they think that muscle determines the quality of your capability to fight. Those are the people who are going to posture, and ultimately those are the people who will eventually run into someone who can fight and be humbled or hurt. It's a lot more important to create that security in yourself. And I think that you and I can't recommend more the desire that people should do martial arts in some way. And again, there are some martial arts that are more art. So there's Kung Fu, which is more art.
Yes.
There's Kempo or karate or something like that is a little bit more martial, but still a lot of art.
They try to strike a balance between the two.
Exactly. Then you've got something like Wushu and, Krav Maga and what was the other one you said that you did?
Wing Chun.
Those, they try to strike that balance as well. And then you've got Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling where it's like, pressure testing constantly, but hey, we don't want brain damage.
Yes.
And then there's boxing, which is like, let's just punch each other. So there's obviously more minutia to that because I've interviewed a boxer a couple weeks ago, but the importance of gaining that confidence will ultimately result in you being less likely to get into a fight.
Yes.
That my first karate teacher went, and our first lesson, he walked in, it was very funny. He goes up to someone and asks them, okay, are you ready to fight me? Okay, try to attack me as best you can.
Oh boy.
And he ran away. And the kid looked so confused. And, we all were just kind of looking and like waiting for him to explain himself. He's like, okay, the best way to win a fight is to not get into one. I wasn't cornered. I won the fight.
Okay.
So what was your introduction to martial arts like? Were you introduced into a little bit more of an intense environment, or were you shown like, hey, get away?
That's a good question, actually. I've never really thought too much about that because because I was so bullied, I wanted to constantly prove myself. So if anything, I would say I was the one who wanted to like constantly test myself against other people and like get into those fights. Of course, if I knew like, oh, okay, I know my current skill set with this person's capabilities, even whether there is strength or speed, I know I won't be able to win. But against someone else, like, okay, I could probably win against this person. Now because of jiu-jitsu, it's like, oh, okay, well now, even if I see a larger person, a taller person, a wider or stronger, it's like, okay, well, do they know jiu-jitsu? Most likely not, even though it's getting more and more mainstream. But I can comfortably say, okay, I won't get knocked out by him. And if anything, I could just tire him out, and then we can resolve it. We can resolve it without any damage towards one another, and we can hopefully end up as friends.
I've heard that jiu-jitsu is the art of folding someone's clothes with them still in it.
Yes, I prefer human origami.
but that's so important, and being able to see someone's, and you can term it confidently, which is being able to see someone's weaknesses, who actually is a threat to you and the people around you.
Yes.
So how did you get into wellness? And then what is your wellness routine? How does jiu-jitsu fit into that? And how has that affected your wellness routine? This is a big, broad question. Again, let's see where it goes. What does that look like for you?
So how I got into wellness was, if I'm going to be completely honest, I was a big mama's boy growing up. And my main thing for wanting to go into wellness was I wanted to be able to take care of my mother in her old age. And it first started out saying like it was physical therapy. Now, unfortunately, I didn't do too well in physical therapy school, so got kicked out. It is what it is. And then eventually my mom suggested, hey, why don't you try acupuncture? To tell the truth, I've always had some interest in acupuncture, again, because I was bullied, and I thought, what's a great way for me to fight back? Oh, pressure points. That sounds like a good idea. But eventually, she brought me on to acupuncture, and because my grandfather was an acupuncturist, my uncle's an acupuncturist, my aunt is an acupuncturist, my great-grandfather's an acupuncturist, so there's a lot of acupuncture in my family. So she thought like, okay, well, why don't you try this? Because we have this you have like a huge support system. And I thought, okay, well, why not? I've wanted to learn since I was a child. Now is a good time as any other to do it. So how that fits into how jiu-jitsu fits into my wellness routine, it's a great way for me to just de-stress, to almost like focus on the task at hand, which again, because I tend to find myself having to multitask a lot and getting overwhelmed easily, it's like now I get a chance for me to actually focus on one thing, and it keeps me so it's a great workout. It's a great way for me an opportunity for me to constantly improve on myself, and something I'm always passionate about. It also keeps me very humble, instead of like, okay, there's so much more for you to learn. Like you don't know as much as you think you do, so chill out and just take it slow. And I think that really goes into a lot of other aspects of my life, such as when people start an activity, the Dunning-Kruger effect for anything. Like it could be piano, it could be finances, it could be their smarts in medicine. They know just the very surface level stuff, and yet they think, oh, I know so much already. My confidence is through the roof. And then they go a little farther and it's like, oh, I don't know as much as I actually think. And so jiu-jitsu is what really keeps me grounded in not just physical, but also like my mental pursuits as well.
So that's one of the things that's very clear about jiu-jitsu that I've noticed, is that Kruger effect is very much apparent because everybody's in the room all at once. Yes. From the very beginner to a black belt. And then you see black belts that are destroyed by other black belts.
Yes.
There's a whole level of black belt that even one stripe of black belt versus no stripes black belt, that's a huge gap,
Yes.
at least 4 years. And then from there, you go and look at the competitions between black belts.
Yep.
You go from a competition black belt to a class black belt, very different things.
Yes.
And then also, not even just that, being able to be humbled by your experience in the class as a blue belt, being willing to be tapped out by a white belt.
I think we both have that.
Yeah, as a purple belt, being willing to be tapped out by a blue belt, and
Yep.
a brown belt, same deal. It's just about never really seeing anything as I've won, I've gotten through this. I like that. That's one of the ways you use mentally the art in your real life. If someone's going into, are you complete with your acupuncture education
Yes.
now? Okay,
Yes.
because when we last discussed, you weren't. You were there. You were close.
Yes.
So now you're actually done.
Yeah. So I graduated in August, and I passed both my board exams on December 8th, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's pretty
you.
recently.
And I actually just got my license in the mail recently. And
Cool.
so I'm a little bit of a prankster, and I mess with my friends a little bit, telling them, because for New York State, for acupuncture, you have to take 2 board exams. And they're each for different for subjects. So one of them I passed my first attempt. The second one, I failed my first attempt, and my friends knew about it. Then the second time I passed, I told them, oh, I failed again, all mopey, all sad, until a few days later, because I was going to see them all for my birthday dinner. And that's when I told them, like, yeah, I failed. And then I pulled out the paperwork just to let them know, like, yeah, I actually passed.
Well, congratulations,
Thank you.
especially on, it's almost harder to come back the second time and pass. Do you know, there's something, okay, in grappling, it's very easy to get psyched out when you go against that one guy you have a tough time with.
Yes.
So going back and passing a test that you didn't pass the first time is that much more nerve-wracking. So I congratulate you on that. There's a very big fear to approach there. So that's a big step.
Thank you.
Now, since you're someone who you have struggled through and you've kept at it, finding your different path, I can understand that. And if you get to know me, you'll see I went through multiple paths in life. I wanted to be a Marine and join at 18,
You're in the Marines?
I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
Then got epilepsy at 16.
Oof.
Then I had, because you can't be a Marine,
Yeah.
then I decided to become a veterinarian, like my father. I worked from the time I was like 13 till the time I was 22 in the animal hospital. And in college, I decided not to become a veterinarian. So now I'm in the middle of pre-med and not sure what to do. And then I eventually graduate college, and now I'm working in a veterinary facility with my father as my boss. And I'm like, I've capped out and I'm 22. There's no upward mobility from here. So not that that's a bad career choice to be in.
Sure.
There are veterinary technicians who are successful, have their own houses, have their own second houses.
Sure.
Because they put the work in, they put the time in, and they save the money, and they're smart. But I didn't want to be in that career for the next 20, 30 years, 40 years. I've been doing it since I was 13. And I knew I was getting done. So I moved into fitness, took my education and specialization in fitness. Seems like you went the similar route. You went standard public education, I'd assume, or private education, but you went through your high school.
Yes.
Got through that. Then you went to college, PT school, then rerouted yourself to acupuncture. So you've taken this journey. What would your advice be, because you've got some experience, on people thinking about entering first physical therapy school? Because I have the ideas from a physical therapist who went through the program and his ideas on going into it. But the ideas of someone who goes into it and struggles and then makes another path for themselves is almost more valuable for those students who might go in, but they're not actually right, and they should be an acupuncturist, and that's where they're meant to be in life. So how do you decide between, you want wellness, you think PT is the route. Now the deciding factor is someone like you who goes, well, ultimately that wasn't the right path, and acupuncture was the right path because you fought through acupuncture. You had to go back and you had to fight for it. You had to fight to get that test passed. So that's the route you're in. About opening a business, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. How do you choose between wellness careers? How do you know what's the right path for you? And then how do you follow through on that?
It's a very tough question, honestly, to answer because I've actually never given it much thought. For me, it was always, again, wanting to take care of my mother and wanting to just help people in general just get back into functioning, into like their standard level of functionality. So I would say if one career path doesn't work out for them, I would say, just take a look at the other options and, just try a little bit of something. I would say, if anything, volunteer work would actually be very beneficial, and to not just volunteer at one place, but to volunteer at maybe like 5 or 6 different places, but do this, while you still like have the, what's the word I'm looking for? The leeway to do so. So like, someone who's just starting out in college and they don't really know what they want to do, but they want to be in the medical fields, just, go onto Google. I would say like steps would go onto Google, type in onto Google list of careers in the medical or in wellness. They'll give you a list of like all the different types of jobs, and to just go volunteer at this place for like maybe like an hour a week at a different place, and just do that for like a month and just get a feel for it and see like if you like that. And if you do, then you decide, okay, this is what I like. Now, how do I go about attaining the licensing and to do so? So let's say you want to be an acupuncturist, you would have to go through an acupuncture school, massage therapy school. If let's say you want to be a physical therapist, you have to go through the 4 years of undergrad, then take your GREs and then apply for physical therapy schools. And I'm assuming like it, and the same if you want to go into medical school, you would have to take your MCATs then and take your pre-med classes and then apply to medical schools. So yeah, long story short, I would say just volunteer, see what you like, and then go from there. Don't lock yourself into one thing thinking that this is the only thing that I have to do. No, because you may have been like kind of conditioned a little from public school to say like, oh, I have to do this, that I have to do A, B, C, and this will get to my goals. Like, no, life has so many like countless different paths and so many of those countless paths can lead to one common goal. So just explore your options.
I think that I can agree exactly with that. And for right now, since this is a natural stopping point, I'm going to stop. I never got you your water, so
Yeah.
Call it right here. All right.
So come back.
Yeah, and we're back. So we're going to move now from school, because that seems like a very rational way to approach it, is determine beforehand if it's right for you. Because I definitely didn't do that, and I took the multiple paths route, and I think you did as well.
Yeah.
Because making those decisions is hard. I actually got choked up talking about, taking multiple paths a lot, because I thought about all the different places I wanted to be.
All that heartbreak, all like that like the feelings of failures.
Like then the feeling of like justification at the end, where it's like, I'm actually where I need to be, because I genuinely wake up every day excited to do what I want to do. Since I've moved away from the gym that I'm at, which we talked about, I 2 reasons why. My hours got cut, which forced me to move my life plans up quicker.
Yep.
I was planning on moving into this type of stuff in the next 5 years, not in the next couple months. So that's another, let's say not like a heartbreak, but it's another tough time, because now my salary is cut in a third, and trying to support a wife, trying to get into a house, trying to start a business on a very limited budget. And every single purchase has to make sense. So as I hear your story, I was getting choked up thinking about myself, like I'm in such a good place and such a tough place at the same time, where it's like, I wake up every day, and I was waking up at like 5 a.m. to get into work at 6 a.m.
Yep.
And now I'm still doing that, but I'm working at home. And I'm like, I think about how many people go into business for themselves, and then they just get stuck in the pattern of like, oh, I can just wake up at 11, because they've got a little bit of security. I don't have security. So I wake up loving what I'm going to do, having this instantaneous nature of this has to get done. Like this has to get done now. I have less than a week to have 5 podcasts edited, my website finished, payments processing, everything going. That living life like you have no time lets you actually live your life,
So I think that actually, and I hate to say this, but I think that's why a lot of people actually don't succeed, is because that lack of drive and that lack of determination of, I have to get this done. Because I'm assuming that, I can't say that I wake up at 5 a.m. every day because I'm just not a morning person, but there will be nights where I will stay, where like, let's say preparing for my exams, I force myself to have some deadlines in terms of I need to do this many questions, this much studying on like every single day. And there would be nights where I would be up until 3 a.m. just constantly just studying, and then I would allow myself to go to sleep.
I was a night person as well, and I still find it easy to stay up. But the thing is, we can move into this as well. We'll talk about business in a little bit.
Sure.
I'm getting too excited. I'm jumping past some stuff.
Sure.
So is finishing off with that schooling aspect, what's the theory behind it that they explain in acupuncture school? Because I know acupuncture works. Like, I'm getting an angry tingling down my spine about the doctors who talk about it, that it doesn't work. Pisses me off.
Sure.
Because my father's a veterinarian, and the reason is he's honest with people and he knows where things work and refers people. So he refers people with their animals to acupuncturists.
That's actually another field that, while I don't specialize, I have some of my friends who are
going
so passionate
into that.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what people don't realize is the amount of
shout out to you, Randy.
Hopefully he sees this. I'd be really happy. Alternative medicine is so proven. And he sends dogs out to acupuncture. He sends animals. There's this one doctor on the island somewhere, but him and his wife worked with herbs, and he used a lot of traditional recipes that were passed down to him.
Yes.
Through either his father. I don't remember his story exactly, and I could talk to my father about that. But he came over from China, and all of his recipes were passed down to him from his family.
Sure.
And then he became a traditional doctor in veterinary medicine, and he applied those two so that he would be an alternative veterinary doctor. And literally, my father orders medications from his wife because sadly he passed away. He had a very interesting life. He literally up and left his life to move over to where he bought his herbs to become a Buddhist monk. Halfway across the world, just left everything, dropped his practice, had his wife continue to, handle his practice, and he was a Buddhist monk, and then he got murdered.
What country was this?
Listen, I think he would go to Nepal for his herbs, and then he converted to Buddhism, moved over, and then got murdered. Like, it's just super weird, but either way, his medications were magic, basically. Yeah, there were dogs that my father would diagnose as like 3 months away from death with cancer, and they would live a year. So it's again, nothing is necessarily truly magic, but there's always a way it works.
Yes.
And that's what I want to know about acupuncture, because so many people think it's magic when it really is just an application.
Yes. So, now I'm going to preface this by saying that, again, I had a very strong and heavy Western background medicine, a very heavy background in Western medicine. So again, I was in physical therapy school. I learned all the anatomy, physiology, like all the different organ systems, from the respiratory, the urinary, the cardiovascular, the musculoskeletal, the lymphatic.
Even those breakdowns are faulty, though. They're faulty, and you probably know it.
So I'm going to touch on that. What happened was, after I failed physical therapy school, I tried to get back into physical therapy school. That's when I prepared to take the GRE and all, like, the PT CAS, the interviews, the essays, everything. And during that time, I needed something to do. So again, my mother, thank you. She recommended, like, why don't you try the National Guard? I thought, okay, why not? I'll do it. I became a combat medic, so I learned how to treat soldiers on the battlefield.
Okay, that's cool.
So then, like, having all of this knowledge and then going into acupuncture school, the very first lesson, I remember saying to myself, am I allowed to curse, by the way? What the fuck is this? Like, how does this have anything to do with medicine? And this is coming from someone who has a very heavy, like, family background in acupuncture, and I was saying that. But then later on, as I was more immersed in it, just going to classes, just understanding it more, I thought, oh, okay, that's how it works. Okay, that makes more sense. And the best way I could describe it was, I spent my entire life studying the head side of a coin. And now I have to flip that, and now I have to learn, everything I learned from the head side is now I have to throw out, now I have to learn the tail side. And so how it works in the sense that the body is seen as a system, like a very one unifying system.
Yes.
There's a book in Chinese medicine called The Web That Has No Weaver.
Oh, that's a wonderful name.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
So it explains how,
Yin yang interconnected system.
Sure.
The body also acts like the real world. And I want to get down to when you literally are putting a needle. I don't know what the term in acupuncture is for it, but when you're putting that needle in, when you're affecting this part of someone's body, what is the theory behind why that works somewhere else?
So let's say you have like a stomach issue, like a sudden stomach cramp. There's a point that I would use like right on your thigh, like right